To Life and Law with Debora Diaz. I'm Barbara Marville Kelly, and it's great to be with you. We have an exciting show coming up, and I must say that Debora has 22 years of experience in family and marital law. Are you excited about getting the word out there today?
I am really excited. I look forward to answering people's questions, really providing some good information in general to people that have some questions about family law.
And there are many questions, and you're going to see and discover things that you maybe never knew of before. And that's why we're going to be putting a telephone number up, because starting next week, we're going to be taking incoming calls, and you can always email Debora in the meantime. But I just want to spend this first half hour getting to know Debora, because she's a very approachable attorney. And what I love about the fact is that she cares, she has compassion, she's courageous, and she's always available for you. So you're not always talking to an assistant. And I had the pleasure of visiting your wonderful office the other day. It was very warm and fuzzy, very welcoming to bring clients to and everything. And that's what makes you different. It's really what sets you apart, is because you really jump right in with your heart and you really care about people. You're also providing representation in an efficient and very cost-effective manner so that people can afford you.
Exactly.
Right.
That's what I try to do, is make representation affordable for those that need it.
Exactly. And the other thing is that you're very, very distinct on making the point of Debora tells you not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Oh, that is what my reputation is. I tell clients what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. When someone comes in to meet with me, they filled out a sheet. We talk about their goals, the laws explained to them, and then we really, what is realistic? What's realistic? Because the overall, my goal is, for the client, is to resolve the conflict so they can move on with their life.
Exactly, and with the experience that you've had, I mean, you really are such a well-rounded individual when it comes to working with people, and I've known you for a while, and
A few years now.
Yeah, exactly. So doing this show is such a great idea for you to be able to reach out and raise the awareness of different things. And we're going to be touching on that. There's so many things. We'll have special guests coming in and talking about
exciting.
different points that we need to drive home and all. But you know, when we've been talking just very openly, candidly, recently, getting down to the nitty-gritty of the show, one of the things that really impressed me most was how you start talking about what to expect when somebody's deciding to go through a divorce, and the grief process and different things like that.
The death of a relationship is very similar to the death of a loved one. There's different stages. Many times the person that I'm meeting with is ready to end the relationship, but the spouse is not. So they're in different stages. So already we start off with someone's here in the process and someone's way down here. They're not ready to start it. So we talk a little bit, you know, it's good to understand that the death of a relationship is similar to different stages. There's anger, shock, not wanting to accept it, retaliation in whatever way, but feelings of betrayal. So it can be very similar, not to dismiss death in any way whatsoever, but just to understand that there's different stages to the ending of a relationship, and I understand that.
Exactly, and and for you raising that awareness with your clients, I would think that puts them more at ease, especially when you're so upfront with them and say, look, this is what you need to know. I'm not going to tell you what you think you want to hear, because this is the law, and that's what it's all about. That's what this show is about, family and law.
And law, and how they interact, because that's they're integral, they're integrated.
Exactly.
What's going on in life and affects what's going on in the law part of the case.
They just sort of overlap, really.
They do overlap.
Yeah. And you know, when somebody decides, I mean, we never know what life is going to bring to us in any given moment, really, because we think just when we have everything planned, you're in a 28-year marriage, and then all of a sudden somebody comes home and says, I'm out of here, I'm done.
Exactly. One of my favorite quotes is, life is what happens when you're doing other things, by John Lennon. And then one day you might wake up and realize, I don't want to be with that person. or maybe the children left, the empty nesters, or maybe they just grew apart. So there's many reasons why people decide to end a relationship. And I recognize that even though I have handled thousands of cases, many times it's the person that's sitting across from me, it's only their first time. So, and recognize that it's a complex and confusing process.
Exactly. And I think that's where being so well-rounded as far as having that compassion with your people that come in, I would guess that they have much more of a comfort zone with that relationship. Because, I mean, you know, you're going to an attorney and all this lawful stuff that people, the average person, is just not familiar with. So I feel like your compassion comes out when you try to explain that to them, but still being firm with what they need to know as far as the law goes.
Right. Try to explain the terms, what they mean. To really, I mean, one of the complaints that I hear sometimes when I maybe see someone that's seen is that they don't understand, you know, the terms. They've done some research and they don't understand. Of course, they're not going to understand them like I understand them.
Right.
And I recognize that. But so, and not to talk down or, you know, I respect that. But
Right.
I want my clients to understand what's going on. I want them to understand the terms. I don't want them to be shocked, you know, down the road as the case progresses about particular things. So that's why they get a realistic assessment of the law as it relates to their case.
Exactly. Something else that you had mentioned to me is that you're very non-judgmental at all.
Exactly.
You know, you look at it, the facts, and what exactly. And that's important. That's really important.
It's not my job, but it is important that I know everything in the case. So when we talk, and any lawyer, and as I speak here, it's, you know, when you're going in and having a consultation and speaking, everything, it's attorney-client privileged. The only thing that's not, if the person sitting across says they're going to go out and commit a crime. Other than that, everything they talk about is, you know, they might have flew off to Las Vegas and spent $100,000 or something. You know, it's probably going to come out later on in
somewhere.
The disclosure, but it's not going to come out from something that I said. Everything is, you know, attorney-client privilege. So I say that so that I get the, you know, clients need to understand that they need to be honest with their lawyer. I don't want to know, no attorney wants to know on the day of a hearing or on the day of the trial something to come up.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
That their client failed to disclose.
Sure. So being upfront,
they need to be upfront,
personal with everything, honesty.
And that's why I say that it's I'm you know, non-judgmental, but I need to know everything.
Right.
Okay. I mean, many times I'm sitting and, you know, people are talking and they're disclosing that they have had extramarital affairs, and so, you know, I'm not judging, but I'm certainly going to tell them the ramifications of, you know, how to act going forward and how it might impact their spouse's desire to have a settlement. I mean, people, especially if you're trying to get an amicable, which we hope to do, an amicable resolution.
Yes.
If you are flaunting a new relationship in that other person's face, it affects their ability to want to be agreeable. That's the fact of life.
You know, that's so true. And these are things that we're going to be really sharing with you. It may not affect you, but you may know someone. You may be in conversation with someone. I cannot believe some of the things that I've learned just in regular conversation of the did you know, some of the points that you share at our network meetings and everything. So that's why this show is really awesome, because you're going to be able to put out there into the public things that you're able to in kind of generalized, right?
Talking about tips, addressing the terms, hopefully answering some questions in general from people, getting familiar with the terms, of parenting plans and child's, and what does child custody mean in Florida, and, talking about alimony, talking about the issues as with children and time sharing. So as people, whatever they're, have a question, and we might not be able to answer them all, but we hope to be providing a service out there for some in general information.
Exactly, and we're going to talk a little bit more. We're going to share some of those Q&As, those question and answers that we have prepared ahead of time in the last few segments that we have. But I want to just ask you, I kind of know the answer because I had to ask you in one of our interviews before in a previous one, is why you went into law. When you were growing up, what was it that you did that you just kind of knew where you were going?
Excuse me. I can analyze, I can see the other side, or even two other sides to something.
Yeah.
So debater. I mean, being able to look at a problem and resolve it and argue the other side. You know, the reasons. Come up with the reasons why something should happen.
Yes.
So as a child, coming up with, saying the reason why I should be able to do something and presenting that. So
you knew where you were going at a young age, but you didn't in a way.
I absolutely always wanted to be a lawyer.
See, isn't that's exciting?
Always. I don't know really why, because I'm like the first one in my family to go on and attend higher education, but I just, I think maybe watching Perry Mason shows.
There you go,
because I really love that show.
Yeah, well,
So
it's
could
like
be,
a passion.
But I just really always wanted to be a lawyer. Yeah,
That's
I
why-
still think, I view it, and I know that lawyers, and I'll touch upon this, get a bad rap, and there's some, some bad things happening. I mean, as far as that lawyers do bad things, but I think being a lawyer is an honorable profession. I think it's a privilege. And for me, I take it seriously, and I'm passionate about it.
What made you go into family and marital law?
In law school, as I took the family law course, in first year, family law, it just
struck you.
Really, it just struck me as
Hit your
something
chord.
that there's something I like being. Resolving that type of issue with people.
Well, you're giving back in a sense. I know your clients are paying you, but you are above and beyond because of the way you do care for your clients, and it's a different persona, really.
Yes, especially in the family law area. There's a lot of the times there's children involved in the breakup of a relationship or in a paternity case, and the best interest. I mean, attorneys have a duty to be thinking about that. It's really the best interest of the child. And so that's what you should be explaining, and we talk about explaining to our clients about the statute and the best interests of the child.
Of course, they don't know that. That's why they're coming to you.
Right.
And to be able to share that knowledge and to put them at ease. And I think, do you find in your practice that I'm just imagining when people come to you and they are ready to break up their marriage, there may be children or whatever, they must have a high degree of stress and nervousness and everything. I'm guessing that once you lay things out for them, that they're able to slowly come to a bit of ease, more or less, now that they're going forward. Or resolving, or doing some consulting.
We always talk, is under this statute, the words are, the marriage is irretrievably broken. And, have they tried counseling? Have they, did they try? If a partner's not willing to do it, then that's not going to happen. But have they tried counseling? So really looking to presenting all the options, and maybe just the client needs counseling. Many times I'm recommending that my client goes into counseling, sometimes as part of my agreeing to take their case, that they get into counseling.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well,
because they have to be able to be at a place where they can make decisions.
I was just going to say, because I'm guessing that having a little bit of counseling may help them either patch up the marriage.
It could.
Or be able to be strong to move forward with the separation of the marriage, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that makes sense. It really does, rather than just going, oh, I want a divorce. Well, we've got kids and things like that. You find a lot of people, well, we're going to be taking a break here quick, and I'll hold my question for you in just a little bit, so stay with us. You're watching Life and Law with Debora Diaz. We'll be right back.
revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonatti created, perfected, and patented the Bonatti spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonatti invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonatti spine procedures, they consistently reflect 98.75% patient satisfaction. 50,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Over half our patients have suffered from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonatti succeeds where others fail.
Hi, everyone. Welcome into Life and Law with Debora Diaz. I'm Barbara Marville Kelly. Thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully, you are getting to know Debora already right off the bat and seeing where your heart is in your practice. 22 years. And I guess you have something to say about how excited you are.
It's really exciting to be able to offer people the opportunity to get some general information. So really excited about being able to take some questions coming up in our next show next week.
Yep.
And we'll have the phone number, and then we'll have maybe an email set up where you can email some questions in general.
Exactly.
And we really want to provide some information. There's a lot of information out there, and a lot of times I'm telling clients and other people, don't confuse your Google search with my law degree.
I was just going to ask you that because, you can get such misinformation.
There's a lot of misinformation.
Googling general questions that could send people on a tangent.
There's a lot of misinformation, false information. You really need, and especially in the family law area, cases are fact specific. And so it's okay to get some information, but don't use that as the end all, that's the answer.
Right, and every case is different, obviously.
Every case is different. It's based on the facts. We have this conversation a lot because people, under the statutes and the varying statutes and all the factors that are involved and the particular family situation, and let's say that we're talking about someone with children, and they start talking to their friends and their neighbor and start talking about, well, you should do this, and this is what I got in my divorce, and yeah, could be fine for that person, but that might not be what's going to happen in the person that's asking the questions case.
It makes sense.
It very fact-specific cases, and we can talk in general, but it really is the outcome of the case is really in line with the specific facts.
Yeah, the specific facts are kind of critical. So, yeah, and I think family, friends, they're trying to help out.
And that's understandable.
And people are looking to, because, they're lost, and it's scary. That's taking that first step to see an attorney doesn't necessarily mean it is the end.
Exactly.
But it could be the beginning of a whole new life for someone. I mean, regardless of how many years you are in a relationship, a marriage, or whatever, we have to follow the law, really. So it's just one of those things that you go right to the source who knows the law and go with someone that really cares.
It's well worth it to have, whether it's me or many other qualified family law attorneys out there. It's well worth, the termination of a relationship, marriage with assets and children and other issues is worth, at a minimum, talking with an attorney about it.
Well, that's true with children, especially when there's children, because the divorce can be over, but it's not really over for the children.
It's not over. And that's one of the things I'm reminding my clients and we talk about. Yes, they might we have a final judgment, but the parties still have to get along, really have to get along. And even when the child turns 18, tell me, there are high school graduations, there are, maybe weddings, there's college graduations, all of that where really, it's nice for the children if both of their parents can be there.
Yes.
And as I say, the children love both of their parents. And so it really is unfair to try to get them to take a side.
Exactly.
Yeah, you need to pick a
Exactly.
side.
And many times from what I've heard, and maybe you've seen this,
That's what happens.
it is, and the children, they feel guilty sometimes, and they take that with them into
They
being
want
an
to see
adult.
they want to see the other parent, and so whether it's going, so say, the parents with the mother, and then
Yeah.
wants to see the father, and many people are guilty of this. Oh, do you really go? What did you do there? Did you have fun? Those kind of things should be all off limits.
Yes.
Really.
Yes.
I mean, as long as the child is safe, had food,
Right.
clothing.
Yeah, yeah.
Is safe. I mean, yes, there's a duty for the other parent to know where the child is, but to be questioning exactly what they did, unless the child wants to share,
Sure.
is really putting that child on the spot.
Exactly. And then they don't know what to say and all that. So what's really great is she helps give those ground rules when you're going through that separation, that whole divorce. It's not an easy thing to do. And especially when you make the decision, if you haven't yet, when you go to see Debora or any attorney, it's one of those things that you kind of like crawl before you walk, and then finally you jump in with both feet and you go, I did it. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be something really negative, even though we feel that way at first.
Sometimes.
But growth comes eventually with that, and rather than staying in a family relationship that isn't healthy.
Staying in a family relationship that is can be toxic. Can be, if
Yes.
it's toxic, it can be bad on the children. Children are resilient. They're resilient.
They are.
Okay, they can get into some counseling, but as long as they have supportive parents, they will recover.
Yes, yes. And that's the key, supportive parents. And
Yes.
and by conveying that message to the parents and they grasp it. And of course, I'm sure that they can go into different, counseling meetings to help bring them to that.
Yeah.
And it takes time sometimes.
Yes, and one of the points that I say is that if you're keeping children in a toxic or bad relationship, that affects the children. If they're hearing their parents constantly bickering and yelling, arguing, whatever it is that's going on, that's detrimental to the
Absolutely.
child's
It
well-being.
is.
So let the parents, if they're going to be happier to be apart and be happier, that should reflect that the children are happy.
No doubt, and it happens many, many times over. I know we have another break already coming
Okay.
up here in just a little bit, but it's really exciting to have you here and do your show to put some of these little tidbits out there for people that may be on the cusp of going down that road. They might, our viewers that might be on that cusp might be just, backing off a little bit just to kind of sit and reflect and think about this and think about maybe even calling you and having a consultation with
Only me,
you.
or there's many other qualified family law attorneys we have
know.
out there. My point is to make information available, and that they should, because too many times I'm sitting and reviewing agreements that the party says to me, I didn't know what I agreed to, because they may have done it on their own. And that can be detrimental, and it can be really hard to make some changes. So we can talk more about that if we're going to break.
Absolutely. We're going to go ahead and do that, take a break right now, and we'll be back after these messages.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonatti created, perfected, and patented the Bonatti spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonatti invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonatti spine procedures, they consistently reflect 98.75% patient satisfaction. 50,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Over half our patients have suffered from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonatti succeeds where others fail.
Hi, everyone. Welcome into Life and Law with Debora Diaz. I'm Barbara Marville Kelly. Are we having fun here today?
We're having fun.
And we're getting the message out
to
there.
get some information out there.
I know. This is so great. And now remember, write down the number when you see it crawl across the bottom, because next week we're going to start taking phone calls with your questions, and as long as Debora is able to cover those with you, we'll be happy to do that. We have some general, and there's the number right at the bottom of the screen, 813-982-4049. Questions that you may have for Debora that you might not want to ask anybody else, raise any red flags or anything, just give us a call and we'll discreetly give that question to Debora and she'll answer it on the air. So, speaking of questions, we have some preset questions that are kind of generalized, and these are some of the things that you share at the network meetings locally. And just so you know, Debora's practice is in the entire Tampa Bay area, but she focuses mainly on Pasco, Pinellas, and Hillsborough.
Hernando, actually.
Or Hernando, excuse me. Oh, it was an H
It's
word.
an H.
Okay,
Yeah.
so give me a pass on
Hillsborough
that.
too, but I wanted to get Hernando in there.
You're all over the place, right?
Those are my primary.
But you know what I will say about you that I do know is you take time to chill, you take your time to relax and all that, and that's what I love, because being an attorney, it can be extremely stressful, especially in family and marital law. So congratulations for doing that.
You have to take some downtime. We know that.
Exactly. All right. So we're in Florida, and one question is, do I have to be a Florida resident to get divorced in Florida?
And the answer to that is, you have to have been a Florida resident for one party for 6 months. One party has had to reside in the state of Florida for 6 months. And proof of that is, of course, a Florida driver's license. Now, if you don't have a Florida driver's license, it can be done. There's an affidavit that people that are familiar with your residency can fill out and sign under oath that you have been a resident and lived in Florida for 6 months. This is really part of this, is that there shouldn't be all of this, you can't just move into a state, maybe you lived in Texas or any other state, and it's just coming to Florida and then 2 weeks later file for divorce. Because maybe you are forum shopping, that you didn't like the state where you're coming from, their laws, because we have 50 states. The laws vary from state to state. So that's a little bit of the reason, but you should have some ties to the state, or one person. So as long as one person has been a resident for 6 months, then a divorce, and I'm talking about by the time the petition's filed, dissolution of marriage, then the court will then that gives Florida courts jurisdiction.
I see. Very good. I never knew that.
A lot of people don't know. That's a common question. People ask.
Yeah.
That is a common question. So
do you have people that actually come to Florida and they haven't been here long, and have you run up against that where they haven't been?
They've only been here 2 months, 3 months maybe, and so yes, so we have to wait the 6 months.
Okay.
6 months.
All right.
Yes.
So it wasn't like they were coming down here to check out.
No, sometimes they're just, sometimes, it was part of a move, but a planned move. So I'm not saying that it's all that, people had all negative intentions, but it just be, some protection under the statute that it's a 6-month requirement.
Okay, so that's good to know. Something that is very, very touchy is child support. How on earth is child support? How is it determined?
Yeah. We'll touch upon it a little bit today.
It's a loaded question, isn't it?
That's a question
We need
can
probably
go
several
on
hours.
and on. But,
Yeah.
and we could, kind of the summary answer is that it really is, you're looking at the party's income. Okay, you take both parties' income, and it's based on a mathematical formula. You take both parties' income, they get to deduct their health insurance expenses, health insurance for the children, some daycare expenses, and some other mandatory deductions.
Okay.
So parties can take that. Then we have the total, we have the net income. So you look to the net income based what the child support, and we have some guidelines in Florida, chart, and I'll share some of those in later shows, what the range is, and give some examples. But, so that's how it's determined, based on the net income of the parties, minus some allowable deductions, then based on the number of overnights that the other party might have, the non-primary, because why this is why it's complicated is that we're also looking at the parenting plan. So it's not only income-based, it's also number of overnights. Okay, so someone may spend many, many days with the other parent, but that other parent is not going to get a credit regarding a child support reduction unless there's overnights.
Really?
It's the overnights. So
Really?
yes.
So that's something
So it's
to
the
think
number
about.
of overnights, and under our statute, if one parent has over 40%, it's substantial time sharing, and so then they would get a reduction in the amount of child support that would be owed to the other party. Because it's based on income, and that's why people don't realize, well, a lot of times people will be saying, well, we want, I want 50-50, 50-50, 50-50, and that's, would be 182 and 183 overnights. And they think that there's not going to be child support. Well, there very well could be child support,
Sure.
because we're going to look to the statute and see the income. And if one party makes $75,000 and the other party makes $25,000, and they're at 50-50, there will be child support. The
Right.
person that's earning the $75,000 will be paying child support to the person earning $25,000.
Kind of makes sense.
So that's,
Yeah.
That's just a kind of a quicker, a quick answer. And that's one of the issues that comes up when I'm talking about when people are representing themselves and they're entering into parenting plans, which we'll get into a lot more further shows. But when they're entering into parenting plans, they don't understand these ramifications of the parenting plan, and the time sharing affects child support. Okay.
Oh.
So they may have agreed, and let's talk about they're the lower income spouse, or they're the higher income spouse.
Okay.
And they thought, oh, well, we're going to agree, 50-50. And they thought that they wouldn't have to pay child support, but they do, because it's based on the number of overnights.
Too.
So it's
didn't
many
know that either.
things that go into the formula that we look at.
Sure. Well, isn't that helpful information? I mean, whether it affects you or not, it might affect somebody that you might know. But that's why we're doing the show
That's why
today.
it's not just a thing to talk to your friend to say, well, how much are you paying?
No.
Because again, it's fact specific.
Exactly.
It's income. And
Exactly.
the children and number of children affect the amount of child support. You're going to pay more for 2 children than you are going to pay for one child.
No cookie cutter
There's
formula.
not there's a formula, yes, after you put in all the correct the data and the right variables. But
it makes sense. It makes sense. So when it comes to custody, that's really tough too. But how does the court decide custody on the children? That's part of the parenting plan?
Custody is
obviously?
an old term, and we really try not. I use it somewhat because it's just habit sometimes, but really custody is not the words under the statute. It's time sharing.
Time sharing.
Time sharing. The time sharing. We're not really. The courts aren't awarding a custodial parent.
I see.
Okay, so they're ordering. We're looking at a time sharing. A plan has to be entered into by the parents and agreed to and approved by the court. So it's the time sharing. And the time sharing, so then this the time sharing, which is in the parenting plan, is addressing schooling, religion, activities, the school breaks, holidays, all those issues can be in that, are in that parenting plan. And maybe one parent is going to make the medical decisions. This can happen if they can, and one parent's going to do activities or not. I mean, there's just so many variables in there that we can talk about as to what will happen in a parenting plan. But that parenting plan, if it's agreed to by the parties, affects child support. So
Exactly. It's just, wow. So how is alimony or spousal support determined? Another formula?
that's the same
with that?
is another formula. We really don't have we don't have a formula in the state of Florida. And people might have, if they're aware that we've had some alimony bills work our way up to the, and we actually had one that was on the governor's desk, and regarding getting an alimony formula in place, okay? And alimony is based on need, under our current statute, need and ability to pay. And there are many people out there that need alimony. The issue for attorneys is that there's no formula, unlike child support, where we have some formulas to look at by entering in some data and information. In alimony, we're looking at the need and ability to pay under the statute, but then looking at the factors such as standard of living, excuse me, did one party help the other person go through schooling, what sacrifices were made, and there's a number of factors that we're looking at. But we don't have to say that if all of this, by putting all of these variables in, if you make $50,000, if this is your income, you're going to pay X, Y, Z in alimony.
Oh.
We can't give a specific figure. As attorneys, we can say, and we look and say, we can give you a range based on my experience and my experience in front of this court. And, if we don't have an agreement, this is what your range of alimony might be. Okay. But we can't say, whereas I can put in we have a mathematical formula for child support. Can enter in all the variables and come up with, this is what child support will be.
Yeah.
Okay. We cannot, as attorneys, we cannot do that with alimony. That's based on our practice, our experience, the case, where the case is, whether it's in West Palm Beach or whether it's in Pasco County or Hernando. There's so many variables. And so that's difficult because clients want to know.
I would guess so.
They want to know how much alimony. So to the best, everything that I'm giving is saying I can make these guesstimates, these estimates, and say, based on experience, this is, looking. And also, the financial affidavit of both spouses. And everything has to be justified. Need and ability to pay. One spouse they'll put down their need, and if they have a negative, of course, that's the figure they're going to want, is that negative. But is that negative really realistic?
Sure.
Okay? Regarding what the amount of alimony that should
And being
be.
realistic, that is really the bottom line here. We have a commercial break coming up here in just a minute, but I have a question, but I'm going to wait till after the break. Because it might require a long answer. This is really good information, and in this last segment, we're going to pick up the pace a little bit and share a couple of other things, and also talk about what's going to be coming up in your next show next week, which we will be doing that on a regular basis, so you'll know what to expect and what you'll expect when you talk to this particular family and marital law attorney. So we're going to take that break, and we'll be right back with more on Life and Law with Debora.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonatti created, perfected, and patented the Bonatti spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonatti invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonatti spine procedures, they consistently reflect 98.75% patient satisfaction. 50,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Over half our patients have suffered from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonatti succeeds where others fail.
Hi there, welcome into Life and Law with Debora Diaz. I'm Barbara Marville Kelly. Wow, this show is almost, we're in the last portion of
I
it.
have so much. We have so much to talk about.
I
So you're going to have to
know.
keep staying tuned in here because we have so much to talk about. But I wanted to finish up on the alimony because many people realize that there's been some statutes or some proposed legislation. And to the best of my knowledge so far, I don't think it's going to happen this year. As an attorney, I am in favor of of some kind of alimony reform. And I think it's important. I think it's important for attorneys, it's important for clients because people do want to know. So, there is a need for alimony. So I'm not against alimony. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that we do need some kind of alimony, formula based on income of the parties so that we have a little bit better, so clients have a better understanding what they're facing regarding the amount of alimony. And the reason why we didn't get a bill last year is basically because it was tied to parenting, that 50-50, that there had to be a presumption under the law of 50-50 time sharing. And so they were tied together as two bills. You know how all the the tactics that happen in legislation as to why legislation doesn't get approved and approved and passed through with things. So we need some type of alimony reform, but not a getting rid of alimony. We need alimony. There's many times, and I see it, where one spouse, male or female, has taken the back seat and let the other spouse be successful. And because of that other spouse can be successful because someone's taken care of the home, which is a lot, taking care of the children.
Of course.
Maybe entertained, maybe had all of that, allowing some person to have peace of mind and be successful in their job. And so the need and ability analysis is important for alimony.
Absolutely. Well, I just remembered the question I was going to ask you before we took a break. When people know about the alimony or they're interested in it, I would think that may even be a game changer for whether or not somebody actually is going to go forward with the divorce. How many people stay in a marriage because they take a look at what their options are, like you just described?
Well, keep in mind, so I have to say, it costs less for two people to run a household and stay together than when you're splitting up that household into two separate households with separate rent, insurance, and all the expenses that go with separate households. So of course, there's going to be an impact to the marriage, and the alimony is an important consideration of that, as far as how much
exactly
is going to be paid.
I would think that given those second thoughts, may even help people get back into counseling or whatever, maybe to help save it. I mean,
it could be as you look and see the reality of this is how much potentially. And again, I can only do my best, estimates based on experience and saying this is what I think you're facing. And I like to give the worst case scenario to somebody. This is what I think you're facing, in alimony. So,
and that goes back to you telling your clients what you need to know, not what you want to know or you think you want to know. Well, we only have 5 minutes remaining in the show.
This time's gone so fast.
The one thing that I really want to set the tone for moving forward with Life and Law with Debora Diaz is the fact that you're staying current on current events and what's happening that is going to raise topics for discussion, serious discussion, giving generalized information. And you brought up something this week that touched your heart with bullying in the community that caused a young girl to take her life. And I just want you to touch on that because we're going to take it to the next level next week. We have a life coach that I'm pretty sure is going to be joining us who is really working with this.
We're going to talk about how to deal with it. But the bullying is it seems now like every week we're reading something on social media or in the news or on the internet in another area of some young child taking their life and thought that they had no other choice, and how sad that is, thought they had no other choice because of some kind of bullying that's going on. So we really need to address that as a society and hopefully be giving out some tips to parents. And this week when I saw that another young person in our Pasco community had committed suicide because of bullying, it's an important issue, and hoping to give some tools in our next show by talking to a life coach that has experience with children about tools that maybe to give to the parents to know the signs and what can we do and what can we do about bullying. And I know we're not going to be able to solve the problem, but hopefully we can help in some way, help someone. If we help one family, if we can help one family.
You were reading my mind, absolutely, Debora. Rob Imperato, we both know him. He is in our networking group locally here. In fact, I just happen to have his book here. And on page 73, he talks about bullying. So this is how spontaneous we're going to be in the show. When life events are happening, we're going to be talking about them. We're going to be addressing them so that we can all collectively work together as one major force in helping the community and helping people, helping you know that. I mean, imagine if we were able to help give some tips and save even one person's life or raise the awareness on, like you said, what to look for.
So, there's one.
Yeah.
Hopefully some tools, to provide some tools, avenues, resources that are available in the community, and then maybe, talk about legislation.
Exactly. And that's something that you can educate too, and what you need as far as support in moving forward with laws and seeing what changes can be.
Things happen at the grassroots. When you look around, things happen at the grassroots. I mean, we have many laws because it was an issue, and somebody thought enough to start a petition and to start calling their congressperson. I mean, the laws can happen at the lower level of society.
That is so true, and this community is all about jumping in with both feet, the whole body, and getting involved with different things that are going on. So I think this is going to be fabulous. I'm looking forward to our next show and many shows after that. But anything else that there's a whole lot that we're going to be covering here moving forward.
Talking about, family law issues, and we also hope to, I hope to bring on some guests talking about getting a mortgage after a divorce, how to deal, getting, the real estate issue, some bankruptcy issues. So we hope to have some guests either be in person or live in future shows as issues and as things come up. Again, we want to be in the show that's relevant and adapting to what's happening in our community, and we hope to be talking about that. And at the same time educating.
Exactly, and as you get updates with new laws be informing. That is so fabulous. And when you came to speak to our networking group, we're all just sitting there in awe, not knowing some of the things that you were bringing in, generalized information, of course. Personalized questions, you'd want to have a consultation with Debora. But isn't this great? We launched our first show without a glitch. All right.
Really happy to be in. Really excited about this. So get the number, and hopefully I'll think about having some kind of
questions and
yeah, possibly comments.
Yeah, and if you have some comments or whatever, you can also email. Debora is on Facebook and
Yes,
Twitter
yes.
and Instagram.
Yes.
And what else? Is there anything in
That's the only-
LinkedIn?
Let's see, I'm on LinkedIn too.
We'll
I'm
have
on
a show
LinkedIn,
email
but-
for you.
right. But I'm thinking that a show email would work out really good of any questions to come and be funneled in that would need to be addressed.
That'll be great. In
Yeah.
fact, John's telling me, our producer in the ear, that we'll have a regular show email that you
Great.
can go ahead and send your emails in to us, even while we're live
Yeah, you
on the
can tell.
air.
So that's all going to be anonymous. You can send in questions, something that's there you want to get maybe you're in a relationship or maybe a paternity question, whatever, you'll be able to get an answer.
Exactly.
That's what our goal is, to be
I think this is
providing
great.
education.
Awesome. Thank you, Debora.
Thanks. Thank you.
And thank you
Thanks
for tuning
watching.
in.
Thanks for watching.
Next Thursday, 4:30. Tell your friends.
Yep, tell your friends about it.